we will speak a little bit about that further ahead. But more than this, it's a question of shared visions. We are, especially since Altice arrived and took over the operations in the former Portugal Telecom, we are a company which, as you know, has, I would say, an entrepreneur spirit since its founders. We share a vision of future, a future of digital transformation, a vision of technology enabling an improvement on people's lives. So more than just a technology partner, this is a common view that we share, and myself, I've been a witness in the last 2 years, and I'm pretty sure that the third year will also represent this. Web Summit shows exactly the path, shows exactly the transformation of the society, the economy, and of people's lives, and how technology can improve exactly this transformation. So, without further delay, and thank you very much again for being here with us, I'll leave you Perry to give his view about this event, about this partnership, and about the partnership with Portugal and Altice Portugal. Thank you very much for being here with us. So the stage is yours, and then we'll listen to some Q&A.
Thanks so much. Yeah, great. Yeah, well, just to say, you know, I'm sure almost everybody in this room is involved. I can't tell you the kind of gratitude I felt last year when I went to the kind of control room where so many of the engineers were based. It was pretty unbelievable to get to go or host a conference with so many people from so many places from all over the world, and have the Wi-Fi or the connectivity work so perfectly through the entire 4 days. It's an incredible feat. It's incredibly difficult to do and requires, you know, so much work, not just during the event, but in the run-up to the event, not just in the days, but weeks and months. It requires so much planning, and I'm incredibly grateful to Altice, to the CEO, to everybody in the front here, and everybody else that's been involved. It gives the people that come here from 170, 180 different countries around the world such an incredibly kind of positive feeling about, you know, I think not just about Web Summit, but about Portugal and what's possible. There really aren't, I don't know of any events at the scale of Web Summit in the world that run so smoothly when it comes to connectivity. It's just incredible what's possible. It's amazing to think inside the Altice Arena itself on the kind of closing afternoon when it was just absolutely jammed with people. And I don't know if you remember, but outside all of the steps were covered with people who just couldn't get into the final afternoon, and they were watching on the kind of screens outside. And yet, despite that density of people, it was flawless. And that's quite an incredible achievement. And I'm looking forward to sharing a stage together on Thursday afternoon this year for the first time to just share with all of our attendees some of the highlights, the amount of devices, unique devices that connect to the Wi-Fi network, which isn't kind of 5,000 or 10,000, it's 10.
By saying that, in fact, as I told you in the beginning, this is more than just a technology partnership. It's a spirit, sharing a vision about the role of technology in changing people's lives. And that's also what we have been doing in the partnership with Web Summit, but also in terms of our involvement in Portugal and this amazing trip that we have been doing in Portugal with Altice Portugal. Regarding specifically Web Summit, just to let you know that, as Paddy just highlighted, our view is that this is a very complex work that has been done. I do believe, it's my personal opinion, Paddy's here, he can comment, but I believe this has been one of the cornerstones of having this move to Portugal, and furthermore, the continuance of this magnificent event and organization continuing in Portugal has been the fact that we were able to deliver a complex connectivity solution, to deliver effectively connectivity to these thousands and thousands, and I can give you some numbers about last year, but to deliver this connectivity and this technology that will allow people during the event to communicate and to share ideas. But also a very important fact that we were able to deliver, as a country and as a city, to be up to par with the requirements of an event that has become one of the most relevant events in the world about technology. I'm talking about having the subway ready for connectivity with 4G plus, with debits that go beyond 500 megabits per second on the Portuguese subway. I'm talking to you by delivering Wi-Fi and 4G to the night summits because participants also want to share ideas in different environments. They also want some party that go together with the work and with the business. So the night summits and the events during the evening that go throughout Lisbon are also connected and are also provided through our technology. The surf summits that have been around as well in the weekends before the event, where we are able also to deliver technology in places like beaches where sometimes would be unexpected to have this kind of technology. To deliver in Altice Arena, in field, but also in all the Parque das Nações area, to deliver, I would say, next generation communications, providing things like 4 10 gigabits optical fiber connections plus 1 10 gigabit connection for monitoring. So 50 gigabits per second, I'm sorry, connectivity for a very small part of the city of Lisbon. To having, like we had last year, over 50,000 devices connected during the event simultaneously. Having roughly 2 million Wi-Fi sessions being established during the 3 days of the events, representing more than 315,000 hours of access to clinics or to hospitals. This is true in Portugal. We can provide remote doctor solutions for elderly people or remote people. We have students doing their typical education activities on tablets connected with Wi-Fi networks. We are able today to provide connectivity solutions for remote classes, for children that either cannot, or for physical disabilities, or cannot because of it's too far away to travel, cannot go to schools, to physical schools, and they can have remote classes using technology. This is the kind of things that we are already delivering in Portugal. Residual management for waste management for small cities or big cities in Portugal. IoT is a reality in Portugal. And this kind of transformation of people's lives happens because of 2 things. Because of the connectivity and the investments that we have been putting in this country, that in 1.5 years from now, we'll have 100% of the population covered with optical fiber solutions. We will be probably the first country in the world to have 100% of coverage of optical fiber in the total population. 4G coverage that goes beyond 98% of the population. This is one, connectivity. And the second thing is exactly what we see in Web Summit, is innovation, is being disruptive, being an entrepreneur, creating, developing solutions. This is also what Web Summit is all about. Again, technology to transform and to improve people's lives. And this is also what we've been doing in Portugal. This is why I'm very grateful for Patty to be here with us today, but I'm very grateful as well for the work that everybody here today from the family of Altice Portugal has been doing on a daily basis, because we are also transforming Portuguese people's lives by delivering innovation, entrepreneurship spirit, and infrastructures and technology. So I will leave it here for your Q&A now. Again, thank you to Patty and to all the team. I'm pretty sure that 2018 will be a huge success, like has been 17 and 16. And furthermore, I'm pretty sure with the announcement that has been done, that the next 10 years of Web Summit will continue first to show that Web Summit is one of the most important events in the world in terms of technology. And Lisbon, Portugal, and why not Altice Portugal are up to par in the capacity and ability to deliver what is required for such an event in such a terrific country like Portugal, such a beautiful city like Lisbon. So thank you very much. Thank you all as well. And now I would open to Q&A if you allow me. Okay. Questions. So the first one is always a hard one, and the others follow. So questions. I can point. There's a question. Manuela.
Hello, nice to have you here with us. I'd like to know how it works to manage the next Web Summit. How many persons are involved in this organization, and how do you have the ability to choose some of the great speakers you have in every meeting? How does it work? Can you explain a little bit about it?
Great questions. Firstly, the core team full-time year-round is very, very small. It's almost like maybe a film production studio, that when you go into actually making the movie, the team scales a lot. So full-time year-round, the team's only about 220 people. And a number of weeks out, the number of contractors starts to increase. This week it increases pretty dramatically, and then really from the weekend it increases to thousands and thousands of people. Right now in Phil, if you were just to walk through, there's hundreds of electricians and carpenters busy at work constructing everybody stand from Microsoft to Amazon. So that gives us a sense for the kind of the team. Secondly, in terms of speakers, I think one of the most dramatic, I would say, improvements we've made year over year is listening to attendees. So when we surveyed attendees during Web Summit last year, it was very clear that even amongst the largest companies, big massive car companies, the people that were of most interest were not necessarily the Amazons and Googles of this world, while they were still very interesting to our attendees. The most interesting were, okay, what are the next wave of companies? What are the areas that are most exciting in terms of kind of disruption? And so this year at Web Summit, for the first time, we'll have 50 of the most interesting early stage startups on center stage speaking every morning. We'll open every morning, and I think it's the kind of the right way to open a Web Summit every morning with about a dozen early stage startups from literally every corner of the world doing some very exceptional things. And we've worked with a huge group of investors and entrepreneurs from around the world that have been involved in some of the most successful companies that have emerged over the last 20 years to help us curate that group. And then at lunchtime, we'll also have some more of those companies. And for me, these will be, not all of these companies are going to change the world, but I think there's a good chance that this will be the first time a lot of people will see a number of companies that are going to go on to become the next kind of major global kind of disruptive force. So that's kind of exciting. And in terms of the speakers, just also I should say that we try and keep it as diverse as possible. Technology used to just, 25 years ago, was just this dull gray computer that sat maybe connected to the internet, and it made a horrible sound when it tried to connect. And
don't say that.
Now it touches every industry, and Web Summit reflects that. So from the car industry to how health, you spoke about health, how health has been disrupted. So at Web Summit, you can really kind of pick and choose. It's like a big shopping center. There's really whatever you want, you'll find it at Web Summit. The speaker I'm most excited about is a very low-key, seldom discussed or acknowledged individual. He's an academic who is working in CERN, who created the web, Tim Berners-Lee, and he's going to open Web Summit, being the creator of the web, and I'm very excited about that. He, has probably had a larger impact on the world than maybe anybody else of our collective generation, and I've tried from the very start to get him to come and speak, but he only speaks at one kind of event a year. So finally, he's going to open Web Summit, and I'm very, very excited about that on Monday night. So, yeah.
Just speaking about team event, also to share with you, because it's also important on our side. On our side, basically we're talking about a team that goes way above 150 people working for the last 3 to 4 months to set it up as well. So this is the kind of effort from our technology, operations, etc. teams also to set it up. This is the teams involved, and then of course that will follow next week very, very closely. Questions? More?
Hello. What kind of technological breakthroughs would you like to see in the next 10 years from your point of view? For both.
Okay. I'll go first. Wow, that's a great question. I'm somewhat concerned that encryption and privacy has been deeply compromised, and I think it's very, very important that continued progress is made in that field, that any citizen anywhere in the world can can rest assured going to bed at night or waking up in the morning that no foreign government or is misusing their data, or no private company is misusing their data. I think we're going through a major kind of correction at the moment, and hopefully there are significant improvements. And Tim Berners-Lee will be talking about that at Web Summit, taking the web back and putting the individual at the heart of it. That's the first thing. Secondly, my brother doesn't have a driving license and he's 33. So my mother is very hopeful that driverless cars will be a reality quite soon. As we live in the countryside and she's tiring from picking him up from the airport and driving him home. So that's the other big breakthrough that my mother is hoping for.
Well, I'll be consistent with what I told you